There's diversity and then there's diversity. Of course, having random bacteria in your body is not a great idea, but low microbiome diversity can be a sign you have problems. The real cause of diversity and lack of diversity may surprise you, but it's easier to get things into shape than you may think.
You see that? It's made of chicken. It's actually made of chicken. You kill it, you got free chicken. You can sell it to people. Brilliant. Don't even need an alarm clock.
Dad, no! It's gonna kill you!
I've had a good run.
First off, why do we care about our microbiome at all? I would not get too caught up in the number of species present, because this number is just correlational. Some of them may not even be helpful species, but they may be harmful. Sounds strange, but weight loss through dieting, for example, makes changes in the gut microbiome that slow further weight loss, while fasting does not. So you could get a misleading correlation between these bacteria and positive health changes. Many people will tell you to have a balanced diet with many different foods to create diversity, but in reality, a balanced diet does not come from where most people think it does.
Thanks to Schneering and his marketing genius, the candy bar kept gaining in popularity, especially after he convinced people that it was like part of a balanced diet. You should eat a little bit of candy every day. Years later, a spokesman for the candy industry said that in the 1930s, a quarter pound of Baby Ruth and a glass of milk was considered a very substantial, nourishing meal. This is because in 1936, dextrose, a sugar found in some fruits as well as corn and wheat, was touted by the burgeoning health food industry as the most important form of food energy known to medical science. And it just so happened that much of the sugar in a Baby Ruth candy bar was dextrose. So they put out advertisements like "Juicy ripe apples are rich in dextrose, and so is delicious Baby Ruth." And you can hike 7 1/5 miles at 3 miles per hour on the food energy in one 5-cent bar of Baby Ruth.
That's right, it originally came from selling candy bars, and very similar claims were made about Guinness.
If you want your child to grow, your child to grow, your child to grow. If you want your child to grow, give him a jar of port or sing toora-loora-loora-la, toora-loora-loora-la.
On the other hand, it's very clear at this point that gut bacteria do drive aging in the body.
The traditional view is that aging is a multifactorial process influenced by genetic and environmental factors that may lead to an increase in vulnerability to pathogens. And so that's essentially what we've been talking about at this conference up until about probably 2022 or so. The emerging view is that aging and the microbiome are intimately intertwined. The data show pathogenic microbiome disorder, right, which can be brought about by antibiotics. It can be brought about by catching COVID. Many different aspects of how the microbiome can be disordered. This is called dysbiosis. So this accelerates aging and may be a key driver of aging. So more acknowledgements here. The Hallmarks of Aging: An Expanding Universe was published in 2023, and it's impacted all of us. It's a beautiful, elegant study. I'd like to thank these authors, especially if they're here in the room today. I'd love to talk with you at some point. I have removed the labels here. So they have traditionally been called integrative, primary, and antagonistic. So I've removed those labels to remove the prejudice associated with those labels. And so we're just going to look at the hallmarks of aging here as they stand. We're going to start with dysbiosis here, and we're going to show, okay, in these studies here that you may want to download, what these studies show is the causative effect of dysbiosis causing chronic inflammation, right? The next one here, dysbiosis causes altered cellular communication. Dysbiosis causes stem cell exhaustion, especially within the gut. Very well studied in the gut, and also in many other organs that are directly connected to the downstream precursors for the various different hormones and other areas that come from the short-chain fatty acids produced by the microbiome in the gut. Dysbiosis also causes cellular senescence. So you've heard from some of the prior speakers in this section on that. Dysbiosis causes mitochondrial dysfunction. So mitochondrial dysfunction is very tightly integrated to causing chronic fatigue syndrome in long COVID, for instance, right? So this is not just a bacterial cause, it is also a viral and fungal cause, right? And so this polymicrobial ecosystem that we have, and we think of primarily just in the gastrointestinal system, is also in your nasal cavity, it's also in your brain, it's also in all of the organs of your body. In fact, every organ in your body relies on its microbiome to function appropriately.
In a healthy person, about half of the work the immune system does is simply fighting off pathogenic gut bacteria. As we age, we tend to become less able to do this, and some of these gut bacteria generate poisons which are designed to destroy our immune cells, and these poisons are called lipopolysaccharides. This leads to immunosenescence over time, meaning our macrophages and other immune cells turn into zombie cells which can't function properly, and they actually cause more damage in the body.
Jesus. That is, you don't need a doctor, you need a time machine.
This is at the heart of aging because it's our immune system that repairs cells in the body and gets rid of malfunctioning ones like cancer cells and senescent zombie cells that drive up inflammation. This is also why cells run out of NAD+ over time, which makes them unable to trigger the sirtuin genes to repair themselves. So think twice about that candy bar or that bag of Fritos, and if you do have them at mealtime. It's not ideal, but it could be far worse.
I had Popeyes, Del Taco. 14,000 calories later, I found myself down at Subway, powering through a 12-inch veggie on whole wheat, battling to a cutout of Jared.
So how does fasting actually improve the microbiome? While a lot of the most compelling benefits of fasting require a 72-hour fast to get full effect, such as stem cell release and neural growth, the microbiome is one area that benefits greatly from even small breaks. Eating one meal a day or just cutting down on snacking is going to give your gut immense relief. It's very important to cut down on snacking as much as possible if you want to be healthy and you don't want to gain weight.
What are some things that can enhance it? The cheapest thing is fasting. Intermittent fasting, some form of intermittent fasting, actually increases the diversity within your microbiome, right? So you actually allow secondary fermenters, which are groups of bacteria that feed off of the metabolic byproducts of the primary digesters in your microbiome, right? So when you eat a meal, the first 7 or 8 hours of that meal, your primary digesters are going at the main nutrients within the meal. And then they're kicking out secondary metabolites and other molecules that would then feed the secondary digesters. Now, what you need is then a break from more food coming in and feeding the primary digester so that the secondary ones can proliferate and do what they do, right? So as they start proliferating and start digesting all of the secondary metabolites that the first primary digesters produce, and then if you throw in a bunch of new food, then they get suppressed because then the primary digesters have to ramp up again, right? So giving your body that time at some point during the day to have somewhere around 12, 13, 14 hours of not taking in calories is really beneficial to your microbiome. It does increase the diversity.
The primary digesters he's talking about are mainly the bad guys like Candida, for example. Imagine if you ate nothing but glucose for a month. That is, you did a so-called glucose fast for some crazy reason. And that's kind of what the master cleanse is in a way. What's going to happen? You'd have Candida and a couple of other members of your microbiome completely take over your whole gut until nothing else was left. This is the real problem we have today, and that's what SIBO really is, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. It's the overgrowth of these bad guys, the simple members of the gut microbiome. And of course, it's not just candida and not just glucose. There's also grains, which are relatively new to the human diet and are consumed in more and more processed manners every day. There's also many other processed artificial foods that cause problems, and they're full of contaminants like glyphosate, which directly harm the gut microbiome. These foods not only cause problems like inflammation, but also hunger. It also drives you away from real nutrition, and that's what sates your hunger. When you eat meat, it releases peptide YY, which is an appetite suppression hormone that reduces hunger. At the same time, it's also an antibody against candida because your body knows it's going to be attacked by candida as soon as you eat. And that makes it even more important never to snack, because you're going to be bypassing this defense mechanism if you eat a cookie or something like that. Traditionally, we all ate only at mealtime, and there are obviously reasons why this evolved. Life was hard, and the people who made different decisions did not have good outcomes, and over time, they either got with the program or else their line simply died out. When you have dessert at the end of a meal, it's clear you won't binge as much, and you will binge even less if the rest of the meal is full of low-carb foods and plenty of meat. Natural ingredients also matter more than you might think. A while back, my friend wanted to make some brownies because she got a bag of mix on sale very cheaply. I said, okay, but let's use good ingredients. Whole milk instead of water, a free-range egg, and Danish butter instead of vegetable oil. I kind of hate brownies because they always make me feel sick and they always make me hungry. This time I was very surprised because they tasted amazing, even using this cheap store-bought mix. And after having just a small amount after lunch, I was completely satisfied. Keep in mind, fast food and packaged food is by and large intentionally designed to have the opposite effect. They want you to chow down on Doritos all day. While I hate most snack foods today because they taste like poison to me, if I do have a bit of the Cool Ranch ones combined with the zingy ones and alternate between the two, once I start, it's basically impossible to stop.
Oh. And another bag of cheesy chips.
You ate the last one.
No, there's another bag hidden behind the raisins.
I'm on it.
Your mom's trying to bogart the cheesy chips. What's that all about?
Well, gurus today will tell you to eat the rainbow to increase gut microbiome diversity. This has many problems. First off, the more types of foreign plant proteins we have in our diet, the more chance we have for an autoimmune reaction. If you want to wind up with problems, this is a great way to get there as soon as possible. And if you look at videos from ex-vegans, you're going to see endless proof of this. The more supposedly healthy people are with their plant food eating, the more problems that they actually have. Part of this is due to oxalates in food like spinach, and this harms the gut lining, but it's also because you're getting all kinds of proteins that are very dissimilar to human proteins, which the body simply does not recognize. Some of these are there specifically to cause issues when eaten, like lectins, for example. Plants don't want to be eaten, and these problematic proteins are part of their defense mechanism. Selective breeding has made this worse over time because the most insect-resistant crops are also the ones that have more and more of these problem proteins, which include gluten, wheat agglutinate, lectins, and so on, not to mention more gut-wrecking oxalates. That's just one of the endless reasons bread today is nothing like it was 2,000 years ago. Baking and fermenting can help a bit with these problems, but be aware that commercial bread is baked in a way that actually increases deuterium greatly, and that the sourdough you can buy in stores is a complete sham. The wheat is not really fermented, as this would take a long time, and it's very hard to do safely in large batches. It's also full of endless garbage additives, many of which are biosynthetic and highly alarming. Endless stories are told about humans eating tubers or honey or who knows what in prehistory. In reality, we can just measure this scientifically. Bone isotope analysis shows that humans before agriculture ate almost exclusively animal products. Surprisingly, this was also true in the classical Greek era. Almost all of their nutrition came from animal products, even though agriculture was well established by this time. This is universal whether you are European, African, or from Asia or anywhere else in the world. All pre-agriculture ancient fossils that have been tested show this to be true. So don't be taken in by this con job. You're not designed to eat rice and potatoes. At the same time we had a much more restricted diet, we also had a much greater microbiome diversity and a much different microbiome than what we see today.
If you look at fossils from various times going back, way back into the Paleolithic and Mesozoic eras, dental caries were almost non-existent, and you can see that basically it was a pretty darn low frequency and prevalence. It's only since the Industrial Revolution that things really took off. There were the people who said that clean teeth do not decay. Well, let's look at what was in our mouths. And you can actually look at the DNA footprinting of the various organisms that have been found on fossils. And what you can see is that the phyla in the mouth have changed over the course of time. And in particular, I want you to alert you to this blue one. You'll notice that way back in our hunter-gatherer days, this blue one, Firmicutes, was actually relatively common in the mouth. Now it's pretty much gone. Well, where is Firmicutes today? It's in our intestine. It's actually one of the bad guys in terms of making cytokines that drive chronic metabolic disease. When we talk about the microbiome, when we talk about the bad bacteria, we're mostly talking about Firmicutes. Well, it used to be a denizen of our mouths, and now it's a denizen of our intestines. It got chased down there. And if you notice, also proteobacteria didn't even exist back then, and now it's taking up most of our mouths. So our flora have changed as we've evolved, and the question is why? In the particular, this guy over here in purple has been a major thorn in dentists' side. He is known as strep mutans, and this is the primary driver of dental caries. But it wasn't even part of our mouths. So if you look at bacterial diversity in the mouth, you'll notice that it was relatively constant all the way through, and it's only from medieval to modern times that bacterial diversity has actually gone down as strep mutans over here has made its ugly presence felt.
That's right, our microbiome was much healthier before agriculture, and most of the things in the microbiome today simply don't belong there.
Here's the problem. Come on, you little rascal! What are the Compton brats? Try now. Eureka! Okay, let's go, Scooter.
Diversity in the diet does not lead to diversity in the microbiome. It leads to uniformity and overgrowth of microbiome pests. These pests are the majority in the human microbiome today, and it has serious consequences for weight gain, hunger, and even increased aging. Before agriculture, humans had a more diverse microbiome than today, and isotope analysis in bones shows that we ate close to 100% meat, which is a lot higher than I would have expected, but that's what the results were. Even so, we had no microbiome issues, and we were very healthy, surprisingly so. And microbiome issues are strictly a modern problem, and it gets worse every single decade. Fasting alleviates this problem by giving the probiotic bacteria like L. reuteri, which don't produce as quickly, time to overcome the negative portions of the microbiome, such as candida, and bacteria that rapidly expand after eating, which can lead to constipation and bloating. When your body gets too constipated, this is also when it triggers an emergency response that you may not like at all. one that's also a sign of a bad microbiome.
Oh my god! Daddy, ill!
Okay, go. Get out of here.
That is so gross. I have diarrhea.
Okay.